Hello yogis, welcome back to your practice. My name is Krista and today is day 8 of our Spring into Yoga Challenge. Today's class we are going to be doing a yin class focusing on the liver meridian and the gallbladder meridian. So the liver meridian kind of starts at the inner big toe and then crawls up the inseam of the leg all the way up through the side of the body. And then the gallbladder meridian starts behind the eyes and kind of works its way around the head into the neck. And then again, it comes alongside the body and then travels down in through the outer leg here. So those are the meridians that we're going to be focusing on. Meridians are imaginary lines throughout the body that have different pressure points. And what these meridians do is they allow the energy or our prana or our chi to flow through us. So if you think about us humans being an energetic being, we take in information from our environment through our senses, and then it's processed internally. But then also when we have contact with the earth, when we have contact through conversation with another being or another person, there's also an energetic relationship that happens. Make sure you check the description below because I have my yin sounds playlist linked for you there. So for today's class, we will need a bolster, a couple pillows will do, some blocks if you have books, or again, cushions will work just as well, and then a blanket just in case you need it throughout your practice. So to get started today, we're going to start in a reclined fish/butterfly pose. So bringing either some cushions or if you have a bolster, lengthways on your mat. And then come to sit so that your low back touches the pillow. Once you feel the cushion touching your back, then feel free to lay back down on it. For me personally, I find that gives a little bit of a tweak in my low back. So I just like to scooch that pillow up a little bit further and then lower back down. And then with the feet, bring the soles of the feet together and allow your knees to fall open. Arms can rest by your side. And playing with the positioning of your feet. So bringing the feet closer towards the pelvis, you're going to feel that more so into the inner groin area. And then with the feet further away from the pelvis, you might feel a different sensation in the hips. So play what feels best in your body here. Close down your eyes. And let's just spend a few moments honing in on our breath. Feel the breath that it expands and contracts your rib cage. Release any tension throughout the neck. Unclench the hinges of your jaw and see if you can soften your brow bone. Take a deep breath in through your nose, fill up the lungs. And with an open mouth, just let it all go. Feel this deep sense of release, this deep sense of melting in towards your mat. Last few breaths here. And just preparing our body to come out of this shape. Start by bringing the hands to the outer thighs and using the strength of your arms, close your legs up like a book, placing the soles of the feet onto your mat. And then just ever so slightly lean over to one side, just enough that you can remove any props. And then come to lay all the way onto your mat. Extend the legs long and just settle here. Just bringing a sense of neutrality back to our spine. Notice if anything feels different in the body. And then slide the soles of the feet onto the mat. Roll over to one side of the body. And then using that top arm, just gently push yourself up, coming into a seated position. So we're going to start with shoelace. So you're going to bring the right leg underneath and leaning forward, and then that left leg is going to come on top. And you want to try to stack the knees one on top of the other. If you have a big gap between the legs, then you can use a cushion or your blanket slide. If this pose is really uncomfortable to sit this way, another option would be to come into more of a square pose. So where your left shin is in front of your right shin. You'll still be targeting the same area of the body. So coming into your version of this shape, and just settle in here for a moment. Really feeling the shape. Notice how it feels in your body. And then just play with that edge of leaning forward. Notice what happens here. So in yin, we really want to come into that place of your first sense of resistance to the body. And just notice where that is for you. And once you've arrived to a comfortable place, gently reach for your props. So in this case, I'm going to reach for my blocks. And I'm going to set my blocks up on one on its medium height and one on its highest height. And then again, I'm going to come to that desk and I'm just going to rest my head on my blocks. And just by resting the head, it really releases tension out of the neck. You want to hold your head upright. If you think of these pathways like a garden hose, we're going to focus on compressing and expanding these meridians. And this just allows to bring a temporary block into certain areas of the body, to certain pressure points. And then when we expand, we allow this fresh sense of energy flow through us. Slow, steady breathing. Using your breath as the anchor point to stay connected to this moment. Place your hands onto the earth. And start to push your hands into the earth as you lift yourself back upright. Just come up to a nice straight spine, stabilize. And then start to peel the legs one away from the other. Placing the soles of the feet onto the mat. Feel free to just linger here for a moment. And then we'll start to switch sides. So this time the left leg is going to go underneath and the right leg is going to go on top. And one side might feel different than the other. So that first kind of modification I gave of just finding more of that square shape in the legs, it's okay if you have to find that shape on one side and even though you didn't do it on the other one. So again, just coming into settling into this posture and then playing with your edge as you start to lean forward. Notice what happens in the body as you do that. Now, once you meet yourself in that first place of resistance, and that could feel like a gentle pull or maybe a heat or a coolness, start to stay here. And that's where you set up your props to hold you in this shape without having any muscular engagement to keep you held in this shape. And when the liver and the gallbladder meridian are nourished and balanced, it allows us to stand up a little bit taller and to bend and yield to our ever-changing environment. The liver is often associated with anger. So if you have a lot of anger built up in the body, sometimes it can mean an imbalance. Bring your hands onto the earth and very gently peel yourself back upright. Spend a moment here, stabilize, and then peel away the top leg. Place the sole of the foot flat on your mat, followed by the other one. And again, just linger here for a moment. So thinking about this analogy of the garden hose, so when we are kind of rolling ourselves up into that shape of shoelace, which we just did, we're really compressing our liver meridian and we're lengthening the gallbladder meridian. So now we're just like a garden hose where you yank the knot apart. Now we're going to allow that water to kind of flow through, or that energy to flow through. So by doing this, we're going to find a wide-legged straddle position. So extending one leg or both legs off to each side. And if you're here and you feel like you're falling backwards, that's where you can grab a cushion and then just have a seat onto that cushion. And just that added height is going to bring the pelvis in a nice, comfortable, neutral space that you can at least sit upright and possibly fold forward. Now, if you're here, it might be enough for you to just stay where you are. Again, you can play with approaching your edge and finding that sensation maybe to the inner thigh or into the hamstrings, and utilize your props that you have. So sometimes even doing this in front of a couch can be really good, because then you can kind of rest your upper body onto the couch. If you have a bolster handy, what I like to do is place one block on its lowest level, one on its highest, and then taking my bolster, putting it close to my groin and just allowing it to rest onto the blocks. And then I can lower my chest down and just rest my hands around that bottom block. You'll just find a space that feels best for your body in this shape. And these meridians, they kind of have some extreme polarities to it. So if you think of the very positive side of this meridian, you know, it allows you to bend and adjust to your ever-changing environment and be able to manage your anger. But what happens if you're bending too much? Meaning you're unable to say no to situations that you really don't want to be in. You're bending too much to help others around you that you're exhausting yourself. And then on the extreme end of that, for the negative, we have where you're too angry, where you lash out physically, emotionally. And without thinking these polarities as really positive and negative, they just are. Our emotions are meant to fluctuate. And we're meant to kind of be balanced somewhere along that line, somewhere along the middle. And when we are too in excess of one or the other, that's when we need a little bit of healing. And healing these meridians happens through yoga, through the stimulation of our meridians, as well as eating some sour foods. Yeah, that sour taste, so putting some lemon in your water, it's going to help stimulate these meridians as well. Or eating very dark green or blue vegetables and foods. Last breath here. And exhale. Let it all go. Place your hands onto the mat. Very gently peel yourself away. Remove your props off to the side. And just use the strength of your arms to re-bend the knees. And this just allows your feet to come onto the floor. And then bring your hands behind you and just lean back in space. Settle here for a breath or two. And then start to extend your legs onto your mat. Keep your hands by your hips. Flex your feet towards your face. Engage the legs. Nice staff pose to really find that engagement and stability back in the body. Beautiful. And then exhale to release. Bring the soles of the feet onto the mat. We're going to curl all the way down onto our back. Keeping the soles of the feet onto the mat, just draw your knees in towards the chest if that feels good. Take a few deep breaths here, in and out through your nose. And then drop your feet onto the mat. Bring your right ankle on top of the left thigh. Start to lower your knees down towards the right side of your mat. And then tuck your chin in towards your chest. Think of picking up your shoulders off of your mat and then squaring your shoulders to the top right corner of your mat. Arms can rest by on your tummy, or take your arms overhead, reaching for opposite elbows. So we're finding like a half moon or a banana shape with the upper body. And then with our legs in this twist, it creates a nice sensation along the side of the body. Notice what changes as you breathe in and out through the nose. Notice if sensation lessens over time. One last breath here. Just release the arms. Tuck your chin in towards your chest. Lift your shoulders to square to the top of your mat, followed by your legs. Uncross the legs. Just settle here in center for a breath or two. Really noticing the difference between the left and the right side of the body. If there's a sense of expansion and contraction between the sides. And then we'll do that on the other side by crossing the left ankle on top of the right thigh, lowering the knees down to the left, and then lifting your shoulders. Think of squaring your shoulders to the top left corner of your mat. And again, reaching your arms overhead if that feels okay for you. You want to try and keep both shoulder blades onto your mat. Just breathe. There's nothing else to do but breathe. And just notice your thoughts as they come in and out through the mind. You start thinking of lists and grocery lists and to-do lists and what to do in the future and what have I done in my past, and just acknowledge them. Just really notice these thoughts come in and out of the mind, but without labeling them as positive or negative, or without giving them, or without saying to yourself, like, I shouldn't be having these thoughts, because you can't stop your mind from thinking. Last breath here. Just release the arms. Start by bringing your shoulders back through center, followed by your legs. Linger for a breath or two here, and then start to extend the legs onto your mat. Place your hands by your side, coming into Shavasana. And again, take notice what's happening in the body here from the left and the right side. And notice if there's a sense of equilibrium happening. As we expanded and contracted the sides of our body and our legs, there's a sense of freshness throughout the body. There's more space for you to really release muscle tension and feel your body melt further into your mat. Then as you lay, just really start to feel the muscle drip away from the bone. So if you notice yourself bending to one side of the spectrum or the other, whether you're really angry and you're holding on to a lot of anger for different situations, or if you're more on the other side where you're allowing yourself to bend and be open to opportunity to the point where you're burning yourself out, and acknowledging which side of that spectrum that you're really falling on, and know when you can acknowledge it and then pull yourself back to a place that is much better for you to handle physically and emotionally. So just think of any situation that has really brought you any anger lately. And just take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold your breath at the top. And then with an open mouth, just really let it all go. Do that a few more times if you need to. And with every exhale, really feeling that sense of relaxation and softness come over the body. And can you start to take that tool and these tools of yoga and of breath off of the mat, so that next time you have a little bit of anger, you're able to better guide yourself back into balance. Thank you so much for practicing today, yogis. Namaste. and I will see you tomorrow.